Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world.
It's above the world.
Do we really have that much fun on this podcast? Like, I just realized it's a lot of laughing, but I feel like we've had way more tense moments.
But you edited it.
Yes, I think you only picked the happy moments.
I mean, make everybody feel welcome to come in. As soon as they cut it off,
The intense moments are the fun moments. You know, it's like Papa Winda said, man. Life is
right.
Everything else is
No,
just
that's
wait.
right. No, that's
You
right.
need to get back to the one about Christmas gifts. I'm sure
Hey, I just seen an old comment. I just seen an old comment like that. I don't even know where it, like, it just was already there from however many weeks ago. And I read it, and it was that episode. And it was like, Rudy, you're beating a dead horse. Just let it go. And I like the comment. I was like, yeah, I like that.
Comment back. Think you were Jehovah's Witness or something.
Yeah, man. No, man. I don't even know. Jehovah's Witness. Only thing I know about them is people be aggravated with them because they be showing them to you on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? That was always my.
They also believe in celebrating Christmas or birthdays or anything like that.
I mean, I'm aware of that. Man, listen, we be lit on all them holidays. You know what I'm saying? We just skip gifts on one of them. Either way, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We went on to our own conversation. Shout out to all my hosts here, my compadres. We got Janessa with the fire background as always, always leading the charge. Terry Wayne, you know, your background's popping as well, I guess. And
the picture's not there today.
I had to switch
What
to my
happened
office
to the picture
this week because I thought we went back to 6, but we're apparently at 7, so I had to switch some things around. So back in the office.
Got you. We got Kellie Lee here, munching on mute.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm waiting to eat because I didn't want to, be.
At least she's got the blue corn
That's
chips.
a good idea, Kellie.
I was starving.
Well, you did the right thing with the blue corn chips. They're so much better than the
I
regular.
figured they were better than the white corn.
Yeah.
Or yellow corn.
I don't know what you're trying to imply there, but you know.
Are they? Is that their natural color, or is that like some type of dye or something? I'm asking.
No.
I don't know. I don't even know.
I don't know.
No, it's made with a different kind.
It's actually blue. Organic ground blue corn.
Blue,
Okay.
organic crayon. It's an organic crayon mashed up in there. It's like wax and stuff. I know kids used to mark when I was in elementary school. Very disturbing. Anyways, welcome guys to the show. Terry, Kellie, and Janessa, as well as anybody who's listening. We got faithful listeners out there. My mom and my sister is two of them. So shout out to them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta show love to your fans, even if you've known them.
I root these people.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm Rudy's white friend.
Yeah. What was I getting ready to say? Oh yeah, man. Yeah, we come here, man. We're PKs for those of y'all who are just watching this for the first time, and we basically come here and just open up about our points of views as far as growing up in the church. Some of us grew up in black churches, white churches. I went to white churches, definitely different than black churches, even on time difference.
1 hour.
And there is
sharp.
Black churches are more fun, to be honest.
I went to a white church with one of my friends when I was younger. We literally, in an hour, had worship service and Sunday school.
I believe it. They are timely.
I'm talking about
singing. We come in, we get it done, and we go home.
No, listen to me. Singing a sermon.
Yep.
Everybody transition to church announcements. Transition to your classroom. Sunday school gone. I'm talking about in an hour. I'm not even joking.
I believe it.
And this is not a small church. this is a fairly decent sized church.
Listen,
Was this in California?
No. This was in Georgia. This was when I was younger. Yeah. This was when I was younger.
No, even my dad's all fire and brimstone, right? And when he gets rolling, he can go and like he's a revival preacher. Like he'll go forever.
Right.
But even about an hour, he's like, all right, well, I know y'all are antsy to get out of here. And he'll wrap it up right then and there.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. But either way, man, you know, we've had our experiences. Have any of y'all ever went to a church? I mean, I guess I'm speaking more or less to the ladies because I know me and Terry kind of expressed ours. As far as just outside of a black church, it don't have to be white. It could have been anything else. Or even if it is black, was it like African, you know, or Jamaican? Because like my dad's church is next door to, I think, an African church, and they service sounds a little different than ours. Like, you know, it's the same. Like they say, we talking to the same God, but I'm just saying the way we go about it is different. So that's what I'm asking. Janessa, we can start with you.
Yeah, I've been to white churches, Catholic churches that are both black or white. I've been to my dad's church. We twinned with the church in Ghana. So I've seen a couple of their services. And that's interesting because they do have their own way of doing things. Mm-hmm. But then they also sing, you know, the Kirk Franklins and the Fred Hammonds and, you know, with their own little twist to it. So it's like, hey, okay.
For sure.
I think one of I'm going to say it's my favorite church because I was really young. I don't know how like the pastor was, but like, you know, visibly in California, there was a church that like, I don't know, the pulpit opened and it was outdoors. Like literally it was just, I think it was like Crystal Cathedral or I don't know the name of it, but that church was beautiful. And it was a very majority, you know.
Wait, you said outdoor meaning like behind him was outdoor or?
It's like the windows behind the pulpit open to the outdoors.
But that's what I'm saying. But y'all are sitting inside is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you first said it, I thought you meant like it was an outside service, like y'all were outside and he comes like from out the building, like and it like splits open.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
But like birds can fly in. Like it's very like it was a different experience.
Wait, but birds flew in, or you just said they flew? Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was where?
In California. I wish I knew the name. It was Crystal something.
It was a white church, predominantly white church.
Wow. My dad makes it an effort. Like he makes it a thing whenever we go out of town somewhere, we have to go to somebody's church. And he does not, you know, he don't discriminate. White, black, whatever. So that was the church he picked when we went to California. And there's plenty of churches in California. So, you know, it was a good experience.
That's right.
Sorry. Go ahead, Kelly.
Go ahead, Kelly. Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
So when I lived in Delaware, I used to go to a predominantly white Christian church. I loved it. You got singing, good word, and then you were out in about 45 minutes. If you're late, you've missed it.
You missed a lot.
I mean, you missed it.
I'm usually late. So I show up just in time for the last song, and we transition right into the sermon. So yeah, no, I've enjoyed that. I don't know if I've ever been to a Catholic church. I have been to a couple of black churches where the Spirit of the Lord apparently does not enter the service until hour 3. So you
the holiness and the Pentecostal.
You know, he doesn't even enter until you're there hour 3.
Yeah, they starting in the morning and they end in the what's the, late in the midnight hour.
when God's gonna turn around.
That's when God's gonna turn around.
Yeah.
Right. But we're not gonna start early we're gonna start early in the morning. So you gotta stretch it.
Exactly. Yes. So I've been to a variety of churches. I do appreciate a good hour, 15-minute service.
Can I stop you real quick? When you were in Delaware, did you experience multiple churches there, or did you hit the white church and that was it? Because in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, when I hear Delaware, I just feel like it's a very white state, and I'm not saying that to be like downing white people. I'm just saying I can't imagine it's a high population of black people in Delaware. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
There's probably more black people than you imagine. There's a hood and a ghetto, and there's black folks in the city. And they're building up Delaware a lot. When I saw President Biden's speeches from Delaware,
wait, there's black folks in the city?
Like Delaware, huh?
Right.
I thought Terry said something. Yeah. So yeah, I went to a variety, but I will say this: the predominantly black churches were much smaller than the predominantly white churches.
For sure.
I may have found the biggest black church, a couple of hundred members. If I wanted to go to a large church,
right.
It was definitely predominantly white. But I went to a lot of churches because I couldn't find one that really just fit me as well as my dad's church at the time. So I guess that's where I had gone mostly, or my uncle's dad's church. But yeah, so I went to a good variety, but most of the time I went to this predominantly white church because I just appreciated we were in and out 45, 50 minutes.
Why is that? I agree with what you're saying, Kelly, but why is that black churches are always seem to be so much smaller? Specifically because that building fund is always going.
Well, that's still regional because in Atlanta, there's a lot of big black churches, and I mean a lot. And listen to me, I mean a lot of big black churches.
I can assume you're in the Bible Belt, and it's one of the.
But that's what I'm saying, and it's a heavy black population. So what I'm saying is that's why even in Delaware, that's what makes me think I get what you mean by there's probably more than what I would imagine, but it's still a small population, which then results in why the churches are so small. Because I mean, it's not even enough people. You know what I'm saying? Because even in the black church, there's 1,000 denominations or ways of thinking. You know what I'm saying? So everybody not even trying to be all in one church in the first place. If they all came together, it would just be one big black church. But instead,
it's not even that, but everybody wants to kind of have their own little churches and whatnot. If they would all congregate them together, they could just do
everybody called individually. It's everybody called
like one mega church, like a Black Joel Osteen or
or
Creflo Dollar, who we're going to be talking about later. But
you got to think about this too. Like you said, the building fund is always going. But if tithe and offering, you're only bringing a certain amount of money, then your church is never really going to, you're not going to have the money to kind of grow outside of that. That I felt in Delaware, like I said, most of the black churches that I attended were much smaller than a couple of the white ones. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So speaking of big churches, have any of you guys ever attended personally? Because I already know the answer in the sense of heard of or seen on YouTube. We've all seen people who or heard about people who fit in this category. But have you ever been a member, or even just say if you were in college somewhere and y'all kind of went to college at home, but you were just going to a church temporarily until you went back to your home church. But have you ever been a part of a ministry where like the preacher was like what do they call them? What do they call them? What they call them, a certain type of preacher, like the
televangelist?
No, but not it has nothing to do with being on TV doing it, but like they call them like the prosperity preachers. That's like the prosperity preachers. Like So
I've heard the prosperity ministry.
Yeah, right. So I'm saying, and they preach it like in whatever form or fashion toward for their congregation, but as well as themselves, like they balling. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not judging how they get the money. I'm just saying. But have y'all ever personally, before we get into just talking about it in our broad experiences, have you ever personally like attended a church like that?
I've heard the prosperity ministry. To me, it always sounds like the same thing. You're gambling on your own faith. You know?
But don't go there yet. I'm asking before we go there, have you personally ever attended a church that was?
Yeah.
You say you have.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few religious institutions that I haven't been to before. Like Kelly was talking about how quick white churches are. They just get in, get it done, get out, efficiency. You know who the worst is? Have you ever been to a Jewish temple before?
No.
It's forever. Okay, just settle in because you're not going anywhere. It's way more than black churches or Catholic mass. I've been to Catholic mass. I was married in a Catholic church, in another life. But
It's like, wait a minute.
man,
I was about to say, when did you get?
the Jews
Do
go
we
on-
know this? Where's your wife? Yeah, we were just like, what?
my ex. This is my ex-wife. I was married in a Catholic church in Germany, and the church was older than this country is. So, like they keep up their they're big on tradition and they don't tear down churches. So this church was like 320 years old. It's very ornate, very pretty and whatnot. But the point I was trying to make was like, if you don't want to be in service forever, never convert to Judaism because those people just go on and on. Oh my God. Like, you ever been to a bar mitzvah? It's like 4 hours. It's crazy.
Okay, but Terry, go back this way towards the question.
Sorry.
Okay, you go back this way towards the question. What I'm saying, if you've had a personal experience with being a member of that type of church, that's
no, I've been to the service. I was definitely not a member, but
okay.
That's what I was saying before. It's like gambling on your faith, is because a lot of the prosperity ministries, they just preach seed faith. Which
right.
seed faith, like, give your money to God, give your money to the church, and then it'll come back to you fourfold. And it's like, it probably won't though. I mean, like, I don't know. I just don't believe in seed faith. I don't believe in the prosperity ministry. I believe if you're a good person, then God will bless you. And but that don't save the sheep from the wolves.
But are the wolves blessed or are they cursed?
Well, there's some. Listen, there are some people out there that are genuine and they're doing good work and they're trying to do good work. But yeah, there's definitely some wolves out there too.
But no, I know there's wolves, but I'm asking, are the wolves successful?
Are they successful?
Yeah, like do the wolves have prosperity?
Wolves are usually successful. Yes.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because you said all you gotta do is just be a good person and God will bless you. But I'm saying, but there's people out there who are bad people and they are blessed.
But what I mean by wolves is it's the people that are taking advantage of the good nature of faith.
No. I'm clear on that. I'm clear. I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is that you saying that I'm not even trying to convince you otherwise of what you believe. I'm just saying that you said that you don't believe in the seed faith. So you just feel like as long as you're a good person, God will bless you. And what I'm saying is, but there are bad people. There are people who are not good people who are living a blessed life. I'm not saying whether God blessed them or not. But
this is where we're going to argue because it depends on what your idea of a blessing is. All right. What I mean by bless you is he'll give you a good life, a happy life, a fulfilled life. Not necessarily, the latest Yeezys or a private jet. I'm just saying, like.
But I'm saying there's people who are bad people who have that same life you're talking about.
Okay, but life where? Life here or life beyond? Because it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, right?
That is a scripture, yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that, once again, believe what you believe. I'm not even arguing what you said. I'm just questioning what you said, more or less. Like, you're saying that this is definitely not a waste. So the seed, like sowing a seed and then getting a return, paying your tithes, getting a return, that's completely out of the question. But you're saying that, but if on the other hand, as long as you're a good person, then God will bless you. And what I'm saying is, I know good people who, at least in my eyes, are, you know, have had bad things happen to them. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's their health, whether it's losing people. And I'm not saying every good person I know, but I'm saying there are good people who have what I would consider a bad life. Now, how them and God handled it, and were they, you know, appreciative of what it is that they had? You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, I wouldn't want that for them. You feel what I'm saying? But hold on one second. But I'm saying, then I also know bad people who do have, you know, I'm not saying they don't have anything that ever happens wrong in their life, but I'm saying, but like they have, you know, just say financial freedom, whether it is, they have good health, they have a good family, whatever the case may be, and they're bad people. Now, will they go to hell once they die or whatever? Sure. But what I'm talking about here on earth, like if I thought it was as simple as just being a good person, then there would be, like, everybody good would be good on the blessing side, and everybody bad would be bad, but that's just not always the case.
Think about it this way. Here's a good example, right? Like I've known a lot of people in my life. I know billionaire drug addicts, right? That you would call successful because they got all that money, but they live in agony every single day. But I also know people that have had children that come out with disabilities, or they come out with, just physical deformations and whatnot. But what ends up happening is those disabilities ends up bringing their families closer together. Their marriages get stronger. All of a sudden, you're fulfilled in a way that doesn't matter about what's in your bank account. And that's what I think that a lot of people have lost, is like, success does not equal what car you drive. Okay. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I've never
people are way too money hungry these days, way too obsessed, way too worried about, you know, the possessions they have. They miss the real trick, man. They miss the big happiness. That's all. So it's it's a difference of definition about what success is.
No, we're on the same page. But it's fine. Go ahead, Kelly. What you got? You been a member?
No. So I actually have only been a member of my family's church officially. So I've gone to other churches consistently, but I have never joined another church. I will always.
So then let's ask this: have the leads been prosperity and people out of their money? Huh? Y'all been over there? Y'all been over there on private jets? Huh? Leaving your people in the projects?
I wish, but
you're getting a little out of pocket, Rudy.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I have been to a church that I felt like had the makings of a prosperity church. Like I could definitely see where the pastor wanted to be, who probably wanted to be the pastor with the private jets and, you know, the Lamborghinis or, you know, whatever. I went to their church for on and off for a couple of years while I lived in Delaware, and I found that, to me, the church just didn't really grow. Because he was more of a, you know, have you ever, like, during tithe and offering or the benediction, the pastor says, "Oh, the Lord is telling me that 5 people want to give $200."
Absolutely.
Nope.
You know, and then you kind of stay in prayer, and, you know, and the praise team is singing in the background, you know, until those 5 people stand up, you know, to say that.
I've always known he was never talking to me when he said that.
You know, and
Jesus never gave me a stock tip in my life. Okay, not one stock tip from Jesus.
Right. I remember one time, it may have been 40, 50 people in the congregation. We had already done tithes and offering, and so then the pastor goes, "Oh, the Lord's telling me 30 people still want to give. You know, one person wants to give 1,000, 2, 500, 4, 250. I'm like, it's only 40 of us in here. Like, where they coming from?
You were checking W2s
cover, okay? Just charge a cover, and then it's fine. Everybody puts in 20, and we go in.
Pat everybody.
I got to the point where I just sat down because I know you not. I mean, like, I'm not included. I'm out.
Right. Hey, look, Jesus overturned the money changers in the temple for a
Right.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you got,
yeah,
Janessa? Oh, I'm
he
sorry.
had the,
My bad, Kelly. Go ahead.
I definitely felt like he had the makings, and that's kind of where he wanted to go. But yeah, nope, I wasn't with it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janessa.
No, it's kind of with like you, Kelly. I haven't been a member anywhere else. However, I have been to a lot of churches. Even like, if we gonna be honest, we've had some preachers, ministers come to New Beginning and do exactly what you just said, Kelly. Or at the Full Gospel conferences, or the National Baptist conferences. Like,
absolutely.
I haven't, like you said, I haven't gone and like continuously gone, but I've been in enough church services to spot one from a mile away. And I think the most prominent one I remember, and Rudy, you might have been there, was at the Superdome in New Orleans with Benny Hinn. And he was swinging that jacket and knocking out like whole sections. I'd be like, he was doing the, oh gosh, I have this glove on. He was doing the touch. And I remember, I just remember some of our youth leaders, that was just,
oh my God.
I didn't really know what it was, but then as I got older and kind of, read up on what Benny Hinn was talking about, I was just like, oh, but I want to say he recently like renounced prosperity preaching.
Yeah.
But when I first came across him, he was swinging that jacket and laying out whole sections in the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yeah. People,
well, I was Rudy. There's a preacher out there in LA. Last time I was out there, I was watching his commercials on television, where he's selling he's selling the blessing oil, on TV.
You talking about Peter Popoff?
Who?
Peter Popoff, who sell the
the
holy water package or whatever.
Yeah,
the white dude with clean face, black hair.
Yeah, but it's only out there. I haven't seen it anywhere else. It was only in LA that I saw those infomercials. Like, but that's the door you open up when you talk about prosperity faith. That's the door you open up. You open it up to the Joel Osteens and the Creflo Dollars, and where they're like, oh, I'm just going to have a $15 million jet, or I'm going to have this ranch out in this place and that out in this place. And I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's kind of disgusting to me when I see like Joel Osteen.
Do you think that every, just say, pastor with just say that size of a church, you think all of them are just say in the wrong? I guess is the best way I can ask it, to be broad.
No, I'm asking you. I think that where much is given, much is required. And like, for instance, when the hurricanes hit Texas and Joel Osteen wouldn't open his church for hurricane victims, much is given, much is required. So yeah, it's not how prosperous you are that makes you wicked. What makes you wicked is what you do with your prosperity. Do you want to help some people?
Oh no. You still shaking your head? Yes, Rudy. Can you hear him? And I can't.
God shut him up.
Like he's froze.
Hey, God was like, you better stop talking about my preachers.
I mean, he's still frozen.
Well, I wasn't nodding my head. My arms are on my legs, and I was like rocking my legs like this, so it's moving my whole body. But I was waiting for him to come back, but yeah, he
froze.
I'm gonna just do him a favor and just until he come back. He look crazy. So okay. So what about y'all? How do y'all feel about just say all of the I guess the Joel Osteen Creflo Dollar TD Jakes' level. And I'm not naming them specifically to say you have to criticize them. I'm just saying that level of success as a pastor. Like, you got a huge mega church. You know, I'm sure they got jets, whatever the case may be. Even the whole Preachers of LA, you know, they kind of showed a little bit of that, you know, as far as like the money that what's Noel Jones, Clarence McClendon?
Yeah, McClendon.
Yeah, like all the different ones, whatever. Like, so like, I mean,
Cheney, I think's another one.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are y'all, you know? Even low key, I think we had a better, I guess, a closer view. But like, even Bishop Paul Morton, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he had a jet, and granted, Full Gospel paid for it. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, he's still rich off of, you know, being just a minister or whatever. But what do y'all think?
But is there and I'm gonna play aside.
That God stopped me from talking. That was awesome. Just to sum it up, I don't think God would stop me from saying that, because all I was saying was being prosperous doesn't mean you're wicked. All right, it's what you do with your prosperity. That's what makes you wicked. You can either use that to betterment the people of your congregation, or you can use that to get a golf jet for yourself. You know.
But why can't you do both? Because I agree that
because it costs $55 million. That's why.
You said what?
Because a jet costs about $55 million. That's why.
Well, yes, but I was saying before you got back on that I'm gonna play aside that I don't know really where I fall, but I'm gonna play aside tonight. So, but my thing is, I agree with you when you say Joel Osteen should have, and I don't know the story, but I agree with you when you say he should have opened up his church to the community members. You said during the hurricane.
The victims of the hurricane that got displaced from their homes. Some of them were his own parishioners, and he wouldn't help those people out.
So, but I guess my question, and I agree, he most definitely should have allocated funds to open the church, to provide food, to provide shelter, to provide safety for those people. 1,000% agree. But I wonder, is it, and I guess my question is it wrong? So because I was called to ministry, that now I can't live a luxurious lifestyle? I can't have the luxurious cars. I can't have a private jet. I can't have, first class vacations in Bali or whatever, because I was called to ministry. So that means that I have to live a modest lifestyle. I've grown a church. The Lord has given me a ministry that has continued to grow, where the money that is brought in is able to help me have a luxurious lifestyle, have a salary that has a luxurious lifestyle. I'm 100% for benevolence. I think the church should give back to the community, but are pastors excluded from being able to live a life of luxury? Are they?
What do you think, Janessa?
So I have several thoughts. I'm trying to sort them through my head. To answer your question, Kelly, I don't think that it's wrong necessarily for them to be denied luxurious things. Just for example, I mean, I don't know anybody like this, but I'm just saying, say somebody just invested well and they have millions, like has nothing to do with the church, no books from the church, no CDs, no, like that's just, they made a good business move. Then they made a big, good business move. I think where people sometimes get in trouble, because I think, if it was any other person, any other job, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think what makes it a little tricky is when you have, like you said, church members who are riding the bus, but you rolling up in your Rolls. Oh, I can't even say it. Royals.
We know what you mean.
Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce. I can't even talk today. But that, like, you got people who are hungry and need, and you're up here with your private chef or whatever. So I think
that's not the private chef. And I'm just laughing at private chef.
Oh yeah, your private chef, your personal chef or whatever. So sometimes, because I have these conversations with family members, like there are some pastors who are like stupid rich, but you would never know it. You would never know it. They don't post that they went to the Maldives. They don't post that they flew a private jet to get there. They don't post their house Christmas party. Like they just don't do it. And I think the pastors that do it, you know, get a lot of backlash about it. And then people are like, well, where did the money come from? And did it come from the church? And then it sometimes creates this, I won't say unnecessary, but it just creates this whole thing that kind of taints the church as a money grab or a scam, or church is a bit, when did church become a 7-figure business type of thing? And I don't think, I'm trying to get my thoughts together because I have a lot. Like I don't think you're not allowed to have that lifestyle, but I think there should be some responsibility on reading the room, kind of sort of like when you have that lifestyle. You know, like we're in a pandemic. This is not the time to be flaunting things that most people in the world are not privileged to. Like that's just not reading the room well.
Well, when is the time to flaunt it?
I was going to ask the same thing. I was going to ask, should there ever be a time?
No, nope.
I don't really think there should ever be a time to just be flaunting it all the time. But I think certain aspects of your life, you know, your members might see. They might see your car, but
well, see, that's the real question. If you're a member of Joel Osteen's church, right, and you're paying your tithes, you're paying your offering, you're paying, you know, you're planting your seed in the ground, and then you watch that church build a $20 million mansion, or I'm sorry, a $20 million parsonage that he doesn't have to pay any taxes on. Like, at what point, like Kellie said earlier, you know, am I not allowed to be prosperous? Yes, you are. Of course you are. God wants you to be prosperous to an extent. But at a certain point, it becomes, what's a good word for it? It becomes kind of gross for people to watch you get to a certain level of success, because all a church is collaborative. It's a collaborative of people that believe the same things, and they're looking for faith, they're looking for healing, they're looking for community. And being at the top is fine, and being prosperous is fine. But when you get to a point where it's so indulgent, after a point, like, yeah, I don't blame these people for being mad. I don't, you know, imagine instead of having that $55 million jet, you just took, you know, regular coach flights, or even first class for that matter. Imagine the difference you could make with that money, in not only in your church, but in your community.
So let me ask you this. Is it more or less, and this is a question for all of y'all, is it more or less that they have money, or is it more pinning to how they make it? Because like Janessa said, let's just say, like, if you have a pastor who coincidentally coincidentally has a mega church, but he also has millions of dollars, but he does not get a salary from the church. He does not just say whatever. Like nothing comes from the ministry. Like any money that comes in, it just all goes towards the ministry. None goes to him, and he just has all his millions or whatever in just say real estate or whatever else, right?
Well, that's a different.
Wait, one second. So you got that way. So like, is that I guess a yay or nay, as opposed to the person who, let's just say, like, he is taking a salary from the church, but his salary grows as the church grows. Like he's not getting $1 million with 300 members. You know what I'm saying? He's getting $1 million with 30,000. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. I don't know. But so, or and just say then he also writes books. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, #1 best-selling author. You know what I'm saying? That's not necessarily getting money from the church, but that's still just say profiting off of your, I guess, knowledge or experience, whatever the case may be. So I guess
your platform, because would
right.
people buy your books if they didn't know you were
Exactly.
pastor such and such at this mega church?
Right. Yeah. Or I mean, and even one last example, Kelly, I'm gonna let you go ahead. And even to the degree of just like just say like if you make money from just traveling and preaching, you know what I'm saying? Like if you just kind of more on the evangelist side, like you're not even really just holding down just a church, but you traveling, but you're getting, but like this is your full-time occupation. Like you preach, you get paid, whatever like that, and because you have a draw, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been on both sides. I've preached and done comedy, and listen to me clearly. The growth in both aspects is the exact same. You want to preach or do comedy in front of the bigger audiences as possible to get exposure of your brand. So that you feel what I'm saying, like that, because that's how when and I've never reached necessarily this big in either, but what I'm saying is like that's like preachers will get underneath other preachers to help build their name. You know what I'm saying? As a comedian, you want to get on the road and open for a well-known comic so that your name can be attached to it. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm saying is like I think there's levels to why a preacher can be successful. So I guess this long drawn out example is to ask y'all, and Kelly, you can go like, I guess, what are the parameters that make it, I guess, right or wrong in the sense of you being a preacher and this is okay that you can live like this? Or if you're a preacher and you're doing this, then this is what makes it not okay. Kelly, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I lost my thought. Go ahead.
Well, look,
I lost my thought.
At what point did we lose the message? That's my only thing. Like in the whole idea to be growing spiritually, not just yourself, but the people around you. At what point did success become something other than your, converted count in heaven? Like at what point did we stop just being about? Now, I'm not saying that anybody's got to be a Buddhist monk and take a vow of poverty or something to that effect, or even a Catholic priest for that matter, making $500 a week. I'm not saying that, but there does come a point where success through the church becomes kind of gross,
So
because
you think
you got to remember, everything we do as a job is either a service or a product, right? That's everything we do as a job is either.
But let me ask you as you're answering this. Can there ever really be just say like a balance? Because even in a company, right? Like the boss is sitting somewhere on an island sipping Hennessy while his employees are making him money. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not gonna just say take a hit. And I'm not trying to say this is how pastors should operate. What I'm saying is, but he's not taking a hit because like one of his lowest level employees got fired and then can't pay their rent. Like that's never going to affect him where he's at. You feel what I'm saying? And so is that the separation because like the pastor is doing so well and the people are not, that you feel like that's why he needs to just use his own personal money to bring them to an even level?
No, the difference is that person that you're talking about, they might be selling springs or screws or mattresses or whatever. But the difference is that when you work in a church, you're not selling that. You're selling faith. You're selling hope. You're selling community. That's when it comes into it. And those things should be cheap. They should be cheap and they should be free for everybody. Faith should not have to depend on how much money you got. It's one thing that should be the unending well. That's the well you should always be able to go back to. And when a church collects so much from its parishioners, and then again, I'm going to reference Joel Osteen, and then when the parishioners are in trouble, the church isn't there for them, that's a betrayal. It just is. Because that's why we built your temple, so that it would be there when we all need it, one way or the other. Because remember, we don't need church. Where two or more are gathered, God will be. So technically, He's here right now with us four.
Does it make it okay for the person who's not a preacher who's selling the self-help book, because they're selling hope and all that stuff like that? And
that's a good point, man. That's a good point. But it really, you know, you kind of got me on that one, man. You kind of got me there, because they're selling the same thing, but I don't know. At least to me, in my
is it
opinion,
under the same umbrella as Jesus, religion, Christianity? Are they specifically doing that, or are you just talking about someone saying
because there's people who write like devotionals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't
even devotionals. You were right. Just like regular self-help books, you know, chicken soup for the soul. Are they taking advantage of people by, you know, selling millions of copies and whatnot? Well, I guess it just depends. Look, I'm not going to judge, because that ain't my job. Somebody else will do that for me. But it really, at the end of the day, it all depends on where your heart is. You know what I mean? Are you doing this to make the world a better place, or are you doing this to make the world a better place for you?
That's real.
I was going to say, I wonder if these preachers, if they would still do what they do if they made a flat $75,000 a year with Joel Osteen,
I was gonna say 30.
Whoever, like 50, you know, whatever. Would they still do it? And would they still do it to the same, you know what I'm saying, like traveling and pushing out books and pushing out conferences and doing like everything they're doing now? Would you do it?
That's deep.
No. I don't know.
No, they wouldn't. That's the thing. It's like, Rudy knows this just as another comedian. You get to a certain point in your career where you've got enough clout and you start selling merch. You're not selling merch, you know, for the good of your fans. You're selling it to make extra money. And then, and that's what happens when you start selling your book.
And build your brand. So more people are wearing your name on their shirt or whatever like that, so more people see it. It's
right. But you don't sell those T-shirts you bought for $3 a piece for $20 because it's good for your brand. You're selling it because there's money to be made.
Facts.
You know.
Facts.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of showing my cards here a little bit, just because I don't have a fascination with money. I'm a cheap man with cheap tastes. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I always go back to the love of money is the root of all evil, and it really is, because I've seen it ruin a lot of good people,
for sure,
and take a lot of ethical people that I respected and watch them. Because all it takes is a few moments of like, well, maybe we'll bend this rule, or maybe we'll justify this choice, or we'll do this or change that. And next thing you know, you lost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I probably am. It happens all the time.
No, you good. Go ahead, Kelly.
Why you say? I didn't.
Well, because you was ready to talk when Janessa was talking, so I thought you had something.
You haven't talked in a while. Say something, Kelly.
I lose my thought quickly. I mean, I guess my question is this: should the church pay a pastor's salary?
Yeah, 100%.
Rudy, Janessa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought my bad. I thought it was direct things. I mean, yeah, sure. I don't
get a salary from the church, right, Rudy?
No, but my dad has also never pastored. And see, that's tricky. I can't speak for him, so I can't say that. Just say like if he had a church, even just New Beginning size in Atlanta, like because Bishop Morton didn't get like a salary, but people just always gave a love offering. They had like a separate envelope, and if you just wanted to give to him, you just could type of thing. But I don't think he ever got like like he was on like a payroll for him specifically. But I'm saying, I think if my dad was in that type of position, I think he would probably take that route as opposed to like actually, like I guess like payroll paycheck. But at the same time, I can't speak for him because I don't know. Because I don't know what he would do.
Kelly, you just inspired me. You just inspired me, Kelly. You did, because I know exactly where you're going, and I think that there's a middle ground here. And okay, so back when I was a kid, I was probably like 7, 8 years old. My dad, they gave us a house. We had a parsonage that was paid for by the church. It was owned by the church. We didn't own it, but we were allowed to stay there for free. And he got $500 a week. Now, this was back in the 80s when $500 a week was actually something. But that's what he got. He got a flat rate, $500 a week. But on the other hand, on Pastor Appreciation Day, the whole church got together, collected money from all the people, and they ended up buying him a Rolex and gave it to him for Pastor Appreciation Day. Now, he kept that Rolex. He wore it every day, everywhere he went. He kept it for 25 years until eventually he gave it down to me. But here's the thing. It's not bad for him to have a Rolex, and it's not bad for the church to give him a Rolex. What's good about it is that they chose to do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He didn't take their money, give himself a bonus, and then go out and buy a Rolex. So I guess it really all depends on what the circumstances of your situation are. Because if I'm on television talking seed faith and talking prosperity ministry, and then you send all your money in, and then I give myself a $50 million bonus and buy a jet, that's on me. Now I'm wicked. It's not the people that are. It's just power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
No, I agree. I mean, because I struggle with, and maybe I don't want to show myself.
I don't know. We went deep on this one, man. This is real questions here.
You're right. I see this was Janessa's question, but I don't know. It's hard for me because on one end, I mean, I do think that there's a point. I think, like Terry said, that it's excessive. I do think that if your salary, your income that comes from the church outweighs kind of what the church has to function to give to other people, then there's definitely something wrong in that. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like because I was called to ministry, then I can't. Now, if I have a $55 million jet, then we must be bringing in buku
a lot
money. Like, you know, but I just feel like that why do pastors have to live, you know, this modest lifestyle? Because they were called to the ministry, because they were called to be pastors. We've talked a lot about how it's a 24/7 job. That, you know, there's not time to do anything else to make more money because they're doing this 24 hours a day. I don't know. It's hard for me, and I've never watched preachers
of LA.
Whatever it's called. I've never watched those shows. Like I said, I don't believe in prosperity preaching. You know, and give me your money so that I can get richer, and I don't help the community.
Well, no. Give me your money so that God can bless you. That's my problem with it.
Yeah. I don't believe in that, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely a time where it's excessive, but I feel like if my pastor drove up in a Benz, I'm not looking at him crazy because he got
a Benz is different from a Learjet. Like there's a big difference. I don't got a problem with a preacher having a Benz. A Benz is you know, $70 grand. A Learjet's $50 million. But I get where you're coming from, Kelly. Listen, I watched my father open his door to parishioners at midnight, 2:00 in the morning, just because they were in times of trouble. Like it's not an easy profession, and there is a lot required. So much should be given. I got no problem with that whatsoever. But there is a point where it becomes derogatory to everybody else that's around you, because you know what I mean.
So is it better?
But I will say this, okay? Because I mean I don't have much time left, but I'll say this with two scriptures, right? Those of you who are first in line on earth will be last in line in heaven. And if that's the case, then I wouldn't want to be Joel Osteen or Creflo Dollar when their life ends, because they're going to be pretty far down the end because they've taken a lot here on earth. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I think that if you take you can't serve two masters. Okay.
You can either chase the dollar or you can chase the righteousness, but you can't chase them both.
But to Kellie's point, just because you have the dollar, that means you chased it?
No, there are different circumstances there. I'm not saying that I don't know, a Donald Trump Jr. who's born into a billionaire family.
Let me ask you a more direct question, Terry. Let me ask you a more direct question. Do you think any preacher or pastor is allowed to be a millionaire from at minimum, whether it's millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever? Do you think any preacher should be a millionaire, or you think they should all make less than that, and however that money was made should all be going to the church?
I say, look, anybody who gets called for the service can go. You can be Jeff Bezos, and if he wants to start a church, go ahead. But it just depends on where you got, how you deal with it and what you do with it. If you're asking your church for money and you're a billionaire, then yeah, you're probably in the wrong. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have $1 billion, you have to spend $55,000 a day every day for 365 days a year for 51 years before you run out of money. So to ask somebody who works at Burger King to give you, 10% of their paycheck every week while you're sitting on $1 billion, yeah, kind of gross in my opinion.
But I'm saying, so for one, if I were you, I wouldn't try to pin that particular format on every preacher that you're naming, because you don't necessarily know how. I'm saying, but you keep naming specific ones, and I don't know either, so I'm not necessarily correcting you. But you don't know because I kind of find it hard to believe that one preacher is living simply off of everybody's tithe. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean they have big churches for a reason, so that money's coming from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? They have other programs. They're able to help people in the church. They're spending money outside of just the pastor, and I know for a fact nobody's bringing in that amount of tithe to have a pastor with a $55 million jet. You know what I'm saying? Not off of strictly tithe. So to me, I feel like
here's my thing.
Hold on 1 second before you go. So what I feel like, to me, there has to be some, I guess, business side to them, in the sense of okay, yeah, I may get this from the church, but then because this is my salary and I still want to build generational wealth for my family, I can make an investment here, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Now I do think if there is a situation where 100% of the money is going to a pastor, and then he just, balling out of control and he's just pushing that agenda, yeah, that's one thing. But I think we have to be careful, just because somebody has millions of dollars, to immediately say that 100% of that is coming all from the church. You feel what I'm saying? Because
no. But that's where we're missing each other. I'm not saying even if it doesn't come from the church, right? Even if it doesn't come from the church, if you're sitting on, I don't know, $50 million, right? And then you go in front of a group of parishioners and you say, hey, you got to give all you can. You got to give all you can so that the church can thrive. You got to give all you can. Now, while you're giving all you can, I'm going to go buy a jet.
Yeah, but
if you're asking, it's hypocritical for you to tell people to give all they can to help their church when you're not willing to give all you can, because you could ride in a Delta plane right next to me, no problem.
So you telling me if you got $500 billion and you bought a jet, and then for $55 million, and then gave the church $150 million, you telling me that ain't?
No, that's But again, it all goes by circumstance and circumstance. Yeah, you're right. If you gave $150 million to build a giant church and then bought a plane, I don't think anybody's going to argue.
That's what I'm saying. But there's people with big churches and jets. I don't know how they got it. I'm not arguing that. They could be crooks. I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm just saying. But to Kellie's point, I do think there's a balance. Like anybody who's on top, it's very rare that the person on top is going to be the brokest or the more modest. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying class warfare here.
No. But I'm saying I feel like this is bigger than just a pastor thing, because even with music artists or whatever, like I could be selling love through my music, but I'm the one making millions. This may or may not get you through your heartbreak. You know what I'm saying? Like it may or may not, but I'm still going to sell it. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
well, I get it, but
so what I'm
selling
saying,
music
like,
and selling faith are two different things.
But it's not though, because people sell gospel music, but there's, you know what I'm saying? It's all about the messaging. Like just because you do it through different forms, it's the same thing. So what I'm saying is like, just like what Janessa said, like not only pastors, but everybody has been catching flack for posting, just say vacations or whatever during the pandemic, because people are going through even harder times. But there were people going through hard times even when there wasn't a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And so does that then make it okay to flaunt in front, on Instagram or whatever like that, in front of the people who are still struggling even once the pandemic is over? Or should we just always be modest? Like have the money, go to different places, but just be modest. Like whoever is around you, that's who sees it, but you're not necessarily going out your way to show it off. Or should we, because like I said, once again, if we try to pin this on just a pastor thing, that's unfair, because they're a human being making millions of dollars. Just like there's other human beings making millions of dollars. And this has nothing to do with just giving back to the church. I'm saying everybody as a whole, like everybody is making this money off of whatever it is that they're selling, and they're not, I mean, they may do like a book back giveaway or turkey drive or whatever like that, but people ain't investing another 150 million, not without trying to get a tax write-off.
Churches are different. There's a reason why they don't pay taxes. Okay,
but it's not different, because there's Jeff Bezos.
No, it is different. It should be different.
Jeff Bezos don't pay taxes. Neither Donald Trump. You don't pay taxes because of how you set stuff up. The point I'm making is that
no, you don't pay taxes because it's legal not to pay taxes for church. Churches are taxed.
How it's set up. That's what I just said. But the point that I'm making is that I'm hanging on to what Kellie is saying in the sense of that balance. Like I really feel like there has to be some level. There has to be some separation. Once again, I fully agree that yes, if you are dogging your church out so that you personally can be rich, you know what I'm saying, go to hell in the handbasket, whatever. But I'm saying that just because you are a preacher and a millionaire, I don't think that automatically makes you a crook. You feel what I'm saying?
Nobody said that.
And I'm saying, especially even if you make, like I said, if you have millions of dollars in real estate and you don't give it back to the congregation, and the congregation they make the money off the tithes or whatever like that, I mean, does that necessarily mean so I can afford in my personal real estate money to buy a jet? But you're saying instead of do that for all the necessity traveling that I'm doing, I should give that 55 million out of my personal money to the church. And I'm not saying that if you are saying that that's incorrect. I'm just saying that
if I see my pastor standing in front of a brand new Learjet that he's telling his congregation he just bought for $55 million, you better get that offering plate out of my face. That's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. But what if that offering plate is not going to him though? That's my whole point.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. When you have somebody telling you that you should give all you can when you have small money and they got big money and they're not giving all they can, but
if they're giving their 10%, if you're tithing, that's scripture. That's not.
I'm not talking tithing. I'm talking offering. There's two totally different things.
Yeah, but tithe and offering is both in the Bible as something you should do. Like that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that that's not a preacher didn't make that up. You feel me? So if somebody is saying like, yeah, give the 10% and offering, if they're giving 10% and offering from their millions of dollars, they're doing exactly what.
Well, that's I said that before. That was fine. If you got 50 million for a jet, you got 50 million for your church, and as long as you do that, then you're fine in my book.
I'm saying, but if they can do that and buy a jet, now you're pinning them on the cross.
No, I said that's fine. I said as long as you can give back to your church the same thing that you're giving to yourself, which is what you're supposed to be doing to start with. You're supposed to give, when you take up the service, you're supposed to give everything you have. My mother sold every possession she had to go minister in Haiti when she was 20 years old.
I don't know.
So, I mean, look, when you take up that calling, you're taking up that calling, and you're supposed to give everything you got into it. Do I think that you shouldn't be able to have a Mercedes? No. Do I think you shouldn't be able to have a jet? No. Have a jet if you want. But make sure your house is in order before that. And don't come to your parishioners asking for money if you could do it yourself and you just choose not to out of selfishness. That's it. God blesses you, and the best thing you can do with that blessing is bless others. Can we agree on that?
I mean, anybody else had anything? I'm done.
Nope, I said my point.
It's like, hey, okay, let me put a finer point on it. You remember when they were doing that pay it forward thing? Do you remember that whole like little social movement they were doing, where you go through a drive-through and you say, hey, I'm going to pay for my meal, but I also want to pay for the meal of the guy behind me, right? Well, do you know that the longest stretch of that was 116 people? So 116 people in line at a Starbucks said, fine, thank you for paying for my coffee. I'm going to pay for the coffee behind me. And then the next person said, okay, well, I'll do it again, and I'll pay for the coffee behind me, and I'll pay for that's. The problem is that I can't stand the fact of the thought, and I'm not saying this is anybody realistic. I'm just saying the thought of a minister being the one person that says, okay, thanks for the coffee, and then just leaving without paying for the person behind him. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
right, but then what I'm saying,
if you get blessed, you should bless others. That's the way
what I'm saying. But what if they buy the coffee for the person behind them and a private jet? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they didn't break the chain. they paid it forward.
I guess
for the private jet. That's what I'm saying.
And that's look, I get it, and I'm not trying to be the heavy on this thing. I'm really not. But
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just challenging your point. I'm not saying this to say that like this is my belief or whatever. All I'm saying is that, but so if I'm able to give that, but then also be able to get this, am I a bad person? I'm clear.
No, I'm not just going to lump everybody in together. I'm saying that gross negligence with your money is kind of like art, right? You can't define it, but you know it when you see it.
Gotcha. All right. This has been fun.
Tune in. I think that the church has
Your sound's going out. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
The sound's going out. I changed
you
the
go ahead. No, go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
No, I was saying I believe that the church has an obligation to help its community, for sure. I do not think that most or even half of the money that the church brings in should go to the pastor. But I also feel like that there's a bit of excessiveness that can come along. But I also feel like that pastors can live a luxurious life as well, and they should be able to. Because they're called to ministry doesn't mean that they have to. I think I said it. That I gotta drive, a 1985 Honda because they last for 30 years, for the rest of my life. Like, no, like they work 24/7. They work hard.
I have a question for you, Kellie, about that. So I think, this is not go for all pastors, but from my understanding, like the higher you get, like the bigger your church gets, some pastors aren't as hands-on as they were when their church was smaller. So like, instead of them going to do the funerals, the weddings, the graduations, they send an associate minister. And so, some people, that the bigger their church gets, like their responsibilities are condensed down to just preaching or, preaching and traveling.
Well, they're a
brand. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, be paid for their service or whatever, but sometimes I struggle with that because I'm like, I'm not saying you're doing less work, but
No, you're doing less work. You were right.
Kind of are doing less work, but you're getting a higher pay sometimes. And then like I was looking recently at like a preacher that I really liked. I was looking at a conference going to one of their conferences, and I was like, man, I remember 10 years ago, like this conference was $50, but now it's like $350 to go see this person. But just what are your thoughts on that aspect about doing less but still getting paid more, I guess?
So I have two separate thoughts. On one end, I see if that pastor was the person who, and not even talking about pastors, so let's talk about just a job, a business, or something in general. So there's usually one person that has started it from the ground and has raised it to the point where they can do less work. Like there was a lot of work that I had to put in the beginning when I wasn't making any money to get where I am now, where I can delegate a little more, like I said, to the associate pastors or the associate, to do these type of things. I do know pastors that only do weddings and funerals for people who, they're super close with. They're just no longer doing it for everywhere, everyone in the church, where 15 years ago they did, because they couldn't afford to have associate ministers on staff. And so I don't know. I feel on one end that if you have a mega church, then somewhere in there that God has gifted you with the ability to do that. And so I feel like I said, so I see it both ways. I can understand, because I think sometimes the church gets so big that the pastor just can't.
Yeah.
Like
can't. That is it. It can't.
52 Saturdays, in a year. Like I got 10,000 members. It's 3,000 y'all get married. Like I can't marry all of you, And so I guess I understand that progression where this person put in the work from the beginning. They were here when they weren't making a salary at all, and at this point, they're making this amount of money. Now let me say this: to my knowledge, the Lees ain't millionaires. Unless
time and money are two different things. Time and money are two different things. You get successful enough, you run out of time, but time and money, two different things.
Right. So I understand that. I understand that progression in ministry, that there's a point where I just can't, but I feel like that it was the Lord that took my, 10 members to 10,000 members. I feel like the Lord isn't, and I'm not even familiar with all of the mega pastors in Georgia and California. I'm not, but I'm assuming they got a good word or somewhere that the Lord has blessed them to be able to make the church. We know a whole lot of itty bitty churches just not moving anywhere. Y'all got the same 10 members that y'all had 10 years ago, and so I'm okay with that. And I don't know and I don't know how my family's church does it. Like, do my uncle and my father get a percentage, of what they bring in every year? Do they have just a set salary, just kind of based on last year's budget or 5 years ago? But I have no idea how they do it. I don't know how much my father makes. I don't know. But to your question, and I've had like 3 glasses of wine now because I hadn't had wine in a long time.
Do you, boo?
I got your question.
You did. You did.
It's been I did. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I do understand that.
I just kind of go back and forth with it, especially, being on the PK side. I do see the work that pastors do. Obviously, we all have seen it. So it's like there's a greater understanding, just from our perspective. But then at the same time, when we have these conversations, or I have these conversations with just regular people who aren't pastors or who might not even be in the church at all, just kind of an outsider looking in, they have very strong opinions about this whole topic. So
there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be. Like Kellie said, somebody might give you the stink eye for driving a Mercedes, and that ain't that big a deal. But
right,
there's
it's
always going to be the
full-time
haters, but
job.
at some point it's on you.
Right. And I don't think that the pastor's salary should outweigh, again, what the church brings in. And they should get majority of the salary, a majority of the money. But I think, and I definitely think there's a balance. I definitely think there's a place where it's excessive. But I feel like, and I agree with Terry's point on, you're asking me to sacrificially give for, whatever. And you just, showed on Instagram that you bought a $55 million jet, then I may have an issue with that. Because I'm struggling giving you $55 and you can pay, I get that in too. So I don't know. It's a balance, but I think my point is, I just think it's unfair for people to feel like pastors can't have a certain level of finances because they're pastors.
Right.
But I think there is a point where it becomes greedy and gross and disgusting, as Terry said.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
but I
gotta get going, guys. I got my company just showed up, so I gotta get going. But this was interesting. Yeah.
No, do you think, bro?
No, but there was a lot of good things. Rudy, you made a great point about the self-help books and whatnot. Like, that really got me to thinking. I'm gonna think on that for a while now. And Kellie, I know we kind of got into it a little bit, but get you another glass of wine, girl. It'll be all right.
Did we? Because I had a glass of wine, I don't even remember into it.
I'm right here with you. I'm fine. All right.
We got into it.
All right. Janessa's the Puritan. All right, guys. This was fun though.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Terry.
What I was gonna say was, I guess if y'all don't have anything else, we can wrap it here. The real issue, with just say a pastor doing better than the congregation, like I feel like if you have a mega church or a big enough church, like it's inevitable, because like you said, especially like you said, Kellie, like if you were there when it was just say in your living room and then you built it up to that, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just like a business, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, Amazon starting it's somebody's garage, and now you can get packages the next day. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause they got whatever. So it's a. I don't know if church should be ran like a business or whatever the case may be, but I feel like it's hard to ever just say be in contact with money, and some type of business format or strategy isn't there to, even if it's not for yourself personally, but to even grow the church or whatever the case may be. And I do feel like, especially if you are getting a salary from church or getting anything, whether it's people just giving you offerings or whatever, the more members you have, I feel like it's inevitable that your income is going to grow. You know what I'm saying? And I think that because
or they could cap your income, like they could say,
But I'm saying, but even if you use your brand or the popularity that you built to just do outside things, I'm just saying, in general, like it's going to grow. So I'm saying, like, I feel like what's really hurting or making that gap between the preacher and the members, or even not all members, but just say the ones that are struggling. It's because when we go to church, like, we're getting our spirits fed, and we think that should reflect the natural, and it doesn't always, because, like, realistically, like, if you went to church and you learned how to invest money, you know what I'm saying, or you learn how to just say, do something that could get you money or get you generational wealth, then people in the congregation wouldn't be struggling as much. But we're taught to praise our way through, you know what I'm saying, our struggling finances, and there's a lot of people who just praise their way, you know what I'm saying, into just trying to be happy enough to deal with whatever their situation is, as opposed to there's actually a tangible route where you can make a shift in your actual life, and then things will be different. You having health problems, there's a shift you can make to make your health better. You know what I'm saying? But we're not getting that at church. And I'm not saying that to say that I was at church teaching aerobics, because I wasn't. Like I was preaching, you know what I'm saying? But because that's what you come for. You're getting the spiritual fed, but we're also having the expectation that it should, because my spirit is fed, my health is gonna be good, or my whatever the case may be. But like, no, like there's people who preach in gospel singing and everything like that who have bad health because they don't take care of themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I think, in my opinion, and I don't know if this will ever happen, but if there was more of a teaching on, okay, this is my problem, okay, this is how you fix it, as opposed to, well, if you sow this seed, it'll be fixed. Because yeah, I believe it. I still tithe now. You know what I'm saying? Like I tithe, and God has always blessed me for it. So I don't not tithing. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, once again, like I said, I've never been in the $200 line. You know what I'm saying? And probably because I just didn't even have it. But I guess, like I said, the point I'm making is like I think we're expecting more than than we're actually getting from church. And it's not that church is necessarily shortchanging, because if your spirit is getting fed, that's what you're supposed to get. But that doesn't necessarily translate to your finances. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not taking away from that God can't do a miracle, whatever like that. But like that pastor who's doing well, like, and that's why I made the point. I guarantee you, he's not just 100% living off of tithe. You know what I'm saying? From the church, because it's not that much coming in for him to live off the 10%, and then the church be as big as it is, and whatever else the case may be. Like he's definitely reinvested and made a business move in his personal life that's allowed that to then grow. And what I'm saying is the people in the congregation don't have that knowledge, and so they just keep going to their 9 to 5, expecting their life to eventually look like the pastor who made the business move, and it's not going to equate, if that makes sense.
Is it wrong for pastors to be a brand to because I've reached this point where I have a mega church, and so I can sell daily devotionals or books or whatever under my name because is that wrong?
I will, Janessa, I don't know if you had an answer, but I'll give my quick 2 cents. Okay. I'm going to start by saying I don't know, but I will say this. My most concrete answer would be I just think it's your heart's intention. Like, because I do feel like God gives us gifts so that you can use them to bless people, and then as a result, like you can make finances or get opportunities or make connections, whatever. Like I do think that your gifts can make room for you in that sense. But at the same time, I feel like if God it literally was like, yo, write this and put it out, you know what I'm saying? We can't judge that because we don't know anybody's personal life. But I feel like if God instructed you to do it and then you did it, then I feel like whatever reward God blesses you for that, you deserve. If you are like, yo, shit looking rough, you know what I'm saying? Let me give these people something good real quick. Then I feel like, okay, you a dirtbag. I feel like that.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that. What you said, Rudy, like I go back and forth with it. But I think, like you said, is your heart in the right place? And then, if God does bless you financially, are you doing, what are you doing with what God blesses you with? Are you keeping it for yourself? And, like, I don't know. Something else that I kind of struggle with also is in that same vein. I know some people, actually of a couple of pastors right now, where everything they do is monetized. The daily devotional is monetized. The couples retreat is monetized. The mentorship program is monetized. Like everything they do literally is a price tag on it. And I'm not the one to say that God didn't say for them to do that or not, but I don't know. I kind of struggle with it because I'm like, if that person goes to y'all's church or your ministry, are you saying that the only way you're going to get leadership or guidance or spiritual leadership from that person is if you spend money? And I don't know, like that doesn't sit right with me. So I don't.
Yeah. I don't know.
that is that there's definitely things that are free and don't cost anything, and then the things that may cost, you may pay for, if you're going to the women's conference and there's a book available, a book that you have to, that you pay for those things. But any of those things, money shouldn't go back to, definitely not the pastor, because that don't have nothing to do with him or her.
Right.
But if you're paying for materials or the space or something like that, but I definitely feel like there should be free resources for the church, for sure.
What about even? I know we kind of like prolonging this conversation, but it's really deep. What about even like selling, DVDs and tapes and whatever, like of sermons, whether it's after service or at a conference, whatever, like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, like, because I get it in the sense of like, okay, there could be somebody who missed it, like, oh, I ain't go to first service, girl, I heard he preached church, you know what I'm saying? So I want to get the first service, or it could just be, I don't know. It's very tricky. Like it's tricky. It's tricky.
But I think back now I think in the virtual world, you can kind of get sermons. It's easy to kind of get sermons later. Everybody on YouTube. And so it's easy. But I think back in the day when you had to put it on a CD, when you had to put it on a cassette, like those things took time and energy, and there was a cost to the cassette. There was a cost to the CD. There was a cost to, the little thing that you put it in. Like the church can't absorb all of those costs. Like the church is on some end, I don't call it a business, but the church has to pay the electricity bill. The church has to pay the water bill. The church has to pay the building bill, like,
right. But what about the person who says, why do they have to make the tapes and stuff?
Because like you said, I mean, if somebody missed it, if somebody wants to hear it again, I think now we're in a space where you can upload it to YouTube. It's easily accessible.
For sure.
I think in the day, this wasn't the case. And so if the preacher preached a good word, there's sermons that I've heard more than once, because the word spoke to me so that I wanted to hear it again. I don't think you deny people that right, but I think you also have to understand that cost.
I'm saying, but what about like in the sense of like, because there's sermons people have sold like outside of their church. Like now we ain't talking about like, oh, this the members, they can go to the vestibule and get a tape. We talking about like they selling it at conferences. Like this is almost like, they taking it on the road with them. Like when they go preach somewhere, then they selling, like I'm not calling names, but we've had preachers come to our church and then like they selling a shirt that say this on it, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. Like it's almost like merch. You feel what I'm saying? And it stands for a message and whatever the case may be, and everybody buy it because they preach the church down. Like they tore it up. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, so I'm not jumping to one conclusion or the other. But it's kind of like I get where people's question of is, did this just genuinely happen? God said, yo, make these shirts so people can believe in this, and God bless you to preach a good message that convinced people to, that persuaded people to buy a lot of shirts? Or was this all a part of the plan? Because I've been on both sides of church. I've been just member spectator, just watching, and I've been on this side, and I've seen people use their gifts to their advantage, whether it was prophecy, whether it was preaching, whether it was anything. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's why it's tough. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For sure. And I think it goes back to kind of where your heart is. In why you're doing it. Are you doing it just to make a profit for yourself, to have more money? Are you really doing it because the Lord told you to? Because my father has written a book. My father has CDs and tapes and on youth ministry. I think it's unfair for my father to be, and I'm not tooting his horn, but other people have said it, that my father is one of the best youth pastors there is, for him to keep all of that to himself. So why not write a book? Why not do? He got cassette tapes and CDs. I'm trying to move them into the to the time. But why not share those things with other people? But also knowing that it costs to publish a book, it costs to print a book. So he can't just go out and have and have 1,000 books and just throw them out to everyone, because that costs. It costs to make an 8 CD cassette tape series, those things cost. There's things that that I think preachers, to Terry's point earlier, Sunday service is free. Bible study is free. Small groups are free. Study groups are free. Call to church 24/7 for prayer. But then there's things that it costs, and I think people don't understand too that the money to run the church, that you go to every Sunday and Thursday night, that's a bill.
Oh yeah.
Like you gotta pay for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think people forget that. Like you gotta pay for that.
Right.
That money just don't fall out of heaven from Jesus.
Right.
To go give every month. And so I think even when churches talk about targets, hey, we need to bring in $20,000 of this week or a week for tithes and offering, it's because I can't pay the light bill.
Right.
So I think that people have to remember all of that too, that it's not all going, to the pastor, and I do think that the pastor is gifted and talented, just like Tasha Cobbs get paid every time she goes and she sings somewhere. And that's a gift, that pastor should too. Again, I think there's an area where it becomes gross and disgusting, but I also feel like I said, that they deserve a little.
Right. And once again, it goes down to your heart, because I literally feel equal about how people feel about it with pastors. I feel that same way when it comes down to music artists or authors or anything else. Like if you're using your gift to just say woo me in some type of way, you know what I'm saying? Like whether it's entertainment, whether it's emotion, because like I said, Tasha Cobb, people paying to see her in concert, that's just as fair. Or the other way around. Just say like somebody going to see, just say Cardi B in concert and paying to see her. That's just as fair as Tasha Cobb getting paid to go see her. Exactly. Because granted, it's two different experiences. Like Cardi B gonna make you want to dance a certain way. Tasha Cobb is gonna make you want to worship, but like their gift, just say allows that experience to happen, and so you that's how they, what I'm saying, they get compensated for that. And granted, yes, it's this whole spiritual thing, whatever like that. But once again, I feel like if that's a genuine thing that you're doing, you're like, yo, I'm a gospel singer, you know what I'm saying? And God is giving you music to put out to give to people, then I feel like you have no choice but to reap the benefits of what God gave you. But if there is any type of, because like I said, I know people personally who have used their gifts for, what I'm saying, their own, personal whatever.
Right.
And I feel like that's where it becomes wrong. But it's just hard, just say from the naked eye, to be able to tell the difference, because you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you have to just either. It's kind of almost like the homeless dude, at the red light. Like you don't know what he's gonna do with this dollar if you give it to him. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like either I'm gonna give it to him, I'm gonna not. You know what I'm saying? What do you do with it? That's just what he do with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I feel like for the people who are giving to these mega churches, where somebody is giving to the pastors who have these medical churches that are misusing and mishandling the money for good. I don't, but like you said, I think knowing their heart, knowing the ministry, trusting, that the pastor is going to do what's right with the money. I think some pastors have been outed, and so you kind of see where they're going and what they're doing, but I think it's, like I said, it's about knowing their heart.
Right.
Them.
Right.
So.
And just for the record, I thought of something I want to talk about next week, since I think it's technically my turn, and it stemmed from something that one of y'all said. But I think it was Janessa talking about like the church conference or whatever like that. Because listen, you talking about PK or not, just being a church kid and going to conferences, or even just say like overnight lock-ins and stuff like that. Like I don't think these adults really realize, like they were trying to help bringing us to these things, but they were hurting, because like when I tell you, it was stuff going on. Okay,
stuff going down on the bus, at the church, in the hotel rooms.
Right. What you say, Kellie?
Conversation, because as my father being you, pastor, all of the youth were perfect and there was nothing going on under my father's watch. So I am going to excuse myself from that conversation.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
week.
Gotcha.
That is why.
Well, we'll change names to protect the innocent.
Say names. You made me out myself. Say names.
Yeah, it's somebody else's church. It's not our church. Somebody else's church. But yeah. So that I thought about that, and I almost brought it up, but I was like, nah, that ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. I'm gonna just stick with this topic, but we definitely need to talk about that because that's a thing. But anyways, do either you young ladies have anything to you want to promote or plug, or tell the people about yourself or something?
No, not yet. I'm working on something, but not ready to speak on it yet.
Gotcha.
Working on something. Nope. Thought it was a great conversation. Thanks, Janessa, for the question.
Yeah, that was a good topic. That was juicy. I kept thinking I was thinking too much, but then y'all kept asking questions. I was like, okay, so I'm not the only person into this. Like,
No, this is something like I really think about all the time, or not like consuming all the time, but like it just comes up a lot, and then people get exposed, and then
I got you.
So I want to say to all of our listeners, I don't know how many we have, but I do not subscribe to these hour and 37-minute podcasts. We have gone double time today, but I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. And if you're still with us at this point in it, thank you.
I'm telling you. Follow us at the Workforce PK. Huh? No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now I said to Miss Larnell and Risa, our consistent listeners.
Right.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, they still gonna be here by this part of it. Yeah, they'll still be there. Anybody else new, they may have shut us up a long time ago. Okay, enough. All right. But follow us at the Worst Ones PK on Instagram, and find also on YouTube. You type in the Worst Ones podcast. And yeah, man, check us out as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts, except I think like iHeart or something like that. But you'll get it. All right. Check us out every single week, man. And yeah, man, we got some more dope conversations coming your way. The doors of the church are now open. Anybody who wants to give their life to Christ, just write it in the comments. We'll have Kellie Lee contact you personally. She'll pray with you. Okay.
If you made it this far in the podcast, I will call you personally.
Kellie? What? Kellie?
If you made
she'll
it
let
far,
you follow her on Instagram.
Right. They follow her, but she'll follow you.
If you have made it this far.
All right, y'all. We out.